Hey, it's Sleep, and today I'm going to talk to you about my album, Black Lotus Emporium. Before I begin talking about the album specific songs in depth, I wanted to talk more about the general album first, like, some of the ideas that I had that were going into it. And also, I did get a bunch of fun questions on my Instagram post a few days ago when I put it out, and I was asking people, if they had any questions about the album and like the themes and stuff. So I figured that I would just go ahead and I'd ask those because I'm sure that this was on a lot of people's minds. The last few years have been pretty hard on me. They've been pretty difficult, and it's gotten to a point where I started having nightmares about every single night during 2020. I'm telling you, like, I can't literally remember a single night where I didn't have a nightmare. I was hardly sleeping, and I was just waking up constantly because I was just having nightmares every single night. And it never was really reoccurring. It felt like there was something different each night. So at some point, I just started to, avoid sleeping. And it's kind of funny that, Papa Sleep is, not sleeping, right? But as I was, dealing with this whole nightmare thing, and I'd stay up late at night every night just so I could avoid having nightmares and avoid sleeping. I would just stay up and I would just write about my nightmares. My therapist at the time told me that I should keep some sort of a dream journal or something. I'm not really good at that stuff. So I just straight up started writing everything down, like all the nightmares. And I just kind of over time, I wanted to do an album. So over time, I just sort of kind of put all of these nightmares into these songs. And then this consistent theme started to form. I started working on Black Lotus Emporium in really late 2020. I think it must have been late November, early December is around the time that I started working on it. But I kind of had the plan for the project for months beforehand. I wanted to make something that was way, way better, like way higher quality and much more personal than Cytopathic, because that album, sure, a lot of people might consider it a classic and consider it better, but I found it to be really rough in terms of consistency and just not only in themes but in the quality of the songs. I just felt like I could do so much better, even though I had started a new project about 6-7 months after the Cytopathic came out. And I really, really didn't know what I was doing with the Cytopathic album. But as I started working on Black Lotus Emporium, I felt like I was a lot more clear-headed and knew what I wanted to do. So it's not really a continuity, more like kind of a fresh take on some ideas that I had. I don't think I really have a particular meaning behind the album. I just wanted to vent really badly about my pretty bad nightmares. I wasn't aiming for anything specific, really, overall, but there's a lot of themes that you can interpret and kind of get from each song just by listening to the lyrics a bit more, and you can see how all of them kind of tie together through my nightmares, and how you can see that they're all connected in one way or another. But they're just mostly nightmares at the end of the day. They're just me describing them, and that's kind of what I think brings this whole album together, is just me putting these feelings out onto a page for you all to listen to. As for the name of the album, at some point after having these nightmares for months on end, I started to envision my nightmares as all kind of collectively happening in one single place. And, the more I thought about it, I started to put together this idea of a conservatory, or an emporium kind of. I just wanted to call it emporium, but it is a conservatory, as sort of a halfway point between my reality and my nightmares. And the only thing that would grow in this area is this conservatory would be these black lotuses with glowing bulbs inside of them, and they would grow from the ground, which is not where lotuses come from. I'm pretty sure they come from water and whatnot. They come on lily pads and stuff like that. They don't really grow from the ground, like in dry land, at least that I know of. But whatever, not everything needs to be realistic in my dreams. I don't really know why I chose all of that. It just, it just felt like it fit imagery wise. This is why the album cover has me holding a black lotus while I'm shrouded in darkness. I think it just fits the theme of the album really well, and kind of helps me build imagery about this black Lotus Emporium. I'm not afraid of death. I'm more so intrigued by the concept of death. I know that sounds kind of redundant, but bear with me for a second. The idea of your body and mind deteriorating until you become nothing but dust is just kind of fascinating to me. The afterlife, though, I don't know. I don't really find that as interesting, because what is more curious, and I feel like it's not talked about more and is more fascinating to me, is that it's not where we go after death that's kind of scary. It's doesn't matter if you go to heaven, hell, reincarnation, black void, or whatever religious belief you have, but it's more, how do we get there? Is it a sudden change in our state of being? Is it like we fall asleep and then we wake up? Or is it a slow transition? Is it more like, a waiting room? Or is it more, like a conveyor belt? People don't really know, because it's not really talked about. I haven't heard of anything like that, and I just kind of find it just more interesting than death itself, is how the hell do we end up wherever we end up, man? That stuff's weird. And it's kind of scary. And that's how I imagine the Black Lotus Emporium to be. Sort of like a middle point between our current state of being and wherever we go next. Which in my case is like my own little personal hell of going between reality and nightmares every single night. Actually, funny story reminding me now, as I'm working on this, I just remembered that I made a song for the project that didn't make it. It was one of the 5 songs that I created and like fully finished that didn't make the project, called Empty Gates of Heaven, and it was one of the longest songs I've ever written. It was like 4 or 5 minutes long, just straight fucking rapping.
Step inside of empty gates of heaven, here's a pamphlet, page 6, you can find an answer just about every question that you ever had. Doesn't really matter anyways, this is God's waiting room, he'll be ready in a decade. Pull a seat up, here's a magazine when you're ready. Please just step right through the plastic screen, your hands are shaking. You can't really keep it steady, play the waiting game until it's vacant. Please just tell me if the seat is taken.
And it was about like that, like the whole waiting room kind of idea, like the whole, when you die, you go to like a waiting room pretty much, and like you become, I don't know, you wait pretty much in a waiting room of magazines and shit, like a doctor's office, before you go to heaven or whatever. I don't really remember it too well. Anyways, enough of that depressing stuff. I think it's time we move on to the really, really cool stuff, which is the music itself. Unpaid Funeral Service is the introduction to my album, and this is surprisingly one of my favorite songs on the project, because it was just so different for anything that I've done for me before. I was like straight singing on it. I was doing everything that I'm not used to doing, so it was a pretty big deal for me, and I even got to do an ambient intro for it, which was dope, which is, again, out of my comfort zone. I do ambient in my free time. It's just this is my first time putting in something, which is really cool. It was supposed to sound like the beginning of a funeral. That's what I had in mind when I did the hammering noises and all that, like as if like a coffin is being closed and whatnot. It was mostly just about waking up in an unfamiliar place, which is, as you know by now, the point in the title of the album, The Black Lotus Emporium. I wanted to just set the tone for the album and just start it off neatly so people knew what to expect for the rest of the project. But I did I feel like later on with certain songs, I did definitely flip expectations based off of this single one. I was heavily inspired by "Man with a Helmet" by Little Ugly Mane. You can definitely hear it in the in that last little part where I'm doing like, how did I get here? Did I die? Did I get buried alive?
How did I get here? Did I die? Did I get buried alive? Was it always like this? Was it always claustrophobic? Was I meant to end up like this?
Whatever it was, is inspired by the ending of like Man with a Helmet for sure.
Don't remember all these fucking years. I just don't remember all this fucking time. I just don't remember.
Little Ugly Mane is one of my favorite artists, and I love that Bedwetter project. It's really good, and so that was really definitely inspiring for me. I want to give a shout out to Drowse for the beat, because when he sent that to me, it was just so different than anything I had heard in a long time, and I was just so stoked to record on it.
I'm a mess, I'm depressed, I'm a wreck. I'm the only voice that won't just let me rest, yeah. I'm a mess.
Cemetery Bliss has kind of an interesting story. I planned to make the song about kind of my own mental anguish, about being like your biggest doubter and doubting yourself quite a lot and being very, very hard on yourself for no good reason. And you can obviously hear it in a lot of the imagery, such as like the idea of like courtrooms and like, you know, being tortured and all of these things, not only physically but mentally, because it feels about the same. And, you know, you can hear it in the hook. I'm depressed, I'm a wreck, I'm a mess. It's kind of obvious. It slaps you across the face. I don't really need to explain that.
I'm a mess, I'm depressed, I'm a wreck. I'm the only voice that won't just let me rest. I'm a mess, I'm depressed, I'm a wreck. I'm the only voice that won't just let me rest.
About the beat, which is really funny, is that Akari, I was hitting up Akari about getting a beat for him. I didn't even plan to put anything on the album or maybe even release a song, but I wanted to make something really heavy, very trap metal-y, even though I don't like that label, but very trap metal-y, necro trap or whatever. You know, Akari's been on his thing. He's been doing his own grind, and I was like, I really want something like that. And then I hit him up, and he didn't have anything for me, but then he actually showed me this beat. He says nobody's been using this beat. He's like, I made it with Starfire, which is also awesome, because shout out Starfire, he killed the melody on this. Yeah, they were just like, they just made this beat and nobody was using it, and he was trying to get people to use it and nobody was using it. So it was perfect though for me, because it was like, I literally felt like so attached to it immediately. And then that's how we got the song, because it was like I could just speak on it. I felt like I could really speak what's going on in my head right now. For the music video, I got my sister to help me film the entire thing, and it just came out dope. We went to like this blank kind of like apartment, and it was just kind of all white everywhere, and I was like, this is perfect. It's like a perfect space for this. And the dead flowers that I had, in the thing, they were real dead flowers. My sister and I just had dead flowers hanging around the house. We just literally forgot to water them, and then we just kind of left them there. And I think that really fit into the theme of like withering, you know, like kind of like decaying and whatnot. Like, I'm decaying by being so goddamn hard on myself. And my favorite shot that that we filmed probably was the one where they throw the flowers on me and I'm like curled up in a ball on the floor. That shit was so fucking fun to film. I was literally having a blast doing that, despite, you know, the tone of the song. And it was quite a big deal for me too, because this is also filming my first music video where I rap in front of the camera. I did have one beforehand from 2020 for Cytopathic, and I was kind of facing away from the camera, so.
Wake up every day just to waste away. Rain couldn't wash it all away. Empty glass looking hollow. Break the bottle that I keep my feelings in. Use it as a shake. Crank the volume up and think I'm going tone deaf.
And this was kind of different for me, which was really nice. And I originally intended it to be more than the White Room, like more settings, but we just kind of stuck with it because it was just so awesome. I put a blindfold over my eyes and I let my long hair cover it. I've cut my hair now, thank God, because it was getting in my mouth. Just not interested in showing my face yet. I edited the video myself, and then oh my God, God bless he did the craziest VHS edits. Like, I love his technique, and I love his editing style, and just killed it. And I was so happy to upload that on the Mercenaries channel, and just like everybody was really fucking with it, which made me really happy because we worked so hard on it. Vinegar Syndrome was a really fun song to make. It was mostly about losing your memories, but not like, dementia type of way or Alzheimer's or everywhere at the end of time type of stuff, if you know what I mean. More like repressing your memories and like choosing to forget and just not even caring at the end of the day. I made a lot of references in it to film, especially with the chorus, you can hear it, which is where the name Vinegar Syndrome comes from, because when your film, like 35mm, Polaroid, etc., expires, it starts to smell really, really funny. It starts to smell like vinegar, and I thought that, I really liked the name of that. I just thought Vinegar Syndrome was dope, and I thought that it would just fit the idea of the song. DeHalo and Tio just have really good verses on this. I really am grateful that they helped me out with this song in specific, because the thing with the album is that they were there from the beginning and they were supporting me the entire time, especially DeHalo, who makes the entire project. And they just did such a good job, and I really love their verses too. I think they're even better than mine, but that's up for debate by you, the listener. My favorite line, definitely, in this entire song is a K-Fee line that DeHalo makes. He says, "I scare him off like K-Fee." And that is such a great line, because if you've ever seen that car commercial where the ghost pops up, like the jump scare one, like the car is driving up the hill and then a ghost jump scares you, and it's actually a coffee commercial. I didn't know that until DeHalo told me about it, and that's just such a crazy goddamn bar. It's a good line. I love it. The whole song is great, and I'm really glad that they can help me with this. Make a fun banger that is also surprisingly deep, too.
Seven fatty skin, you ain't real to me anymore. Prosthetic fingers is connected, running out of flow. Just an image, I don't know you anymore. Screen is bought for rent, baby, you be eating.
Bottleneck Brainstems was my attempt at being more relatable and whatnot, because I wanted to make a song about losing sense of who you are and losing sense of self by using so much social media that you forget who you are because you're buried under so many digital layers of lies. Because we spend so much time on social media and we just lie, not only to other people, but to ourselves about who we are. And at the end of the day, I frankly don't even know who I am. Not only do I not know who I am, I'm not who you think I am. I present myself a certain way, but, you don't know me. You're not my friend. You are a listener, and I don't want to have a parasocial relationship like that. Don't get me twisted. I put it here on the album right after Vinegar Syndrome because I thought it just kind of connected to the idea of like forgetting, burying memories, burying your problems, and kind of forgetting really who you are, losing sense of self, and all that. And I honestly can't remember a single time that social media has made me happy. Maybe I'm fabricating memories, but I honestly can't think of anything because it just gives me headaches at the end of the day. The beat, awesome fucking beat. Shout out to Chex for that. It was originally an open for me a long time ago, a very, very long time ago, and then we never did anything, and he just sent me the beat and he said do something awesome on this, and we created this really cool track, so I'm really glad I got to do that. I really like the cuts too. I forgot about this now that I'm thinking about it. The cuts, the little stutters and whatnot that DeHalo/Zyrome does is fucking insane. That part definitely, I feel like, makes the song. Like all the stuttering, and like it really does sound like my computer is like overheating and is on the verge of shutting down. So I really love how the mixing came through on that one, and that whole song is just awesome, man.
If you wanna see the world burn, say, if you wanna play some birthday,
Brittle Bones was just supposed to be ignorant because I like to have those once every album, but as I wrote more and more of it, I kind of just discovered this idea that I want to just burn everything down. I just want to burn the world. I just want to see things burn, and I know how edgy that is, but it is what it is, and I was really pissed off when I made it, which is pretty cool anyways, because the way that Les and Daniel ended up on this song was a similar circumstance. Was that Corpse sent this beat to Lust, and he recorded on it at the same time as me, and he also had the same theme in mind, which is a really funny coincidence. I guess we're on the same wavelength. And then Daniel just came along. I asked Daniel and to get on this because he's like easily one of my favorite rappers of all time, and Daniel just freaking killed it. and with one of my favorite verses by him, lyrics and energy wise. Like the dude goes crazy on it, and it's just so good that, you know, whenever like I'm stuck and like I want to go get inspired, I just go back to it and like I listen to that part specifically because it's just so damn good. And Daniel really killed it. I want to give a shout out to all the people who helped me with the end of the track. There's way too many people that helped me with it. You know who you are. It sounds like there's a crowd of people just shouting "Hey yo" at the end of the song, at just the top of their lungs, and I feel like it really helps kind of make it feel like you're in a stadium or something, and we're all getting ready to go burn the world down. I don't really have much to say about this song other than that. Just go like torch a cop car or something. I don't know. Do whatever makes you happy, or I don't know. Live like a hedonist. I don't really care.
Welcome to the Black Lotus Emporium. I hope you've been having a terrible time.
Multicellular Stairs is quite an interesting song. I really wanted to have a production heavy track on my album. It was mostly just gonna be ambient originally. And then I hit up Daniel and we made this track. And eventually I wanted to just do spoken word because it was just gonna let me lore dump like stories from the vault of the Black Lotus Emporium files or whatever you want to call it. I just wanted to tell like a story from like a day of living in the Black Lotus Emporium. I loved recording that ending. That ending was like not supposed to be there, the part with the singing. I was just feeling it once I finished recording the spoken word. I was just really freaking feeling it. I was just feeling it, and I got on the mic and I just started moaning into it and making that, and it just sounds dope. So for my first time doing an interlude, it came out really well. It was so sick, and it's definitely one of the best sounding songs on the project. The reason why it's so good sounding is because of Zyram, who did these dope ass scratches and killed the mixing on the song, especially on that ending part. He added these like awesome DJ scratches, and it definitely made me sound really cool the way that he mixed my voice, my somewhat sexual moaning.
I see skies are black and all these pools are red. Thinking to myself, what a terrible world.
My least favorite phrase in the world is "we are all in this together." It's a phrase that I've heard a lot over the last year and a half now because of the pandemic, and a lot of people say it. It's on everywhere. It's on billboards, t-shirts, masks. It's in advertisements. People literally say it to you all the fucking time, and it's just empty. It's an empty phrase, and is very apathetic too. It's like saying thoughts and prayers after a major tragic event has happened anywhere around the world. You say something like, "Oh, my thoughts and prayers." Like, what does that actually have to offer to the situation? You're not helping anybody. What's similar about "we're all in this together" to thoughts and prayers is just that it's empty, and it feels apathetic, and it feels like you are not better than me and I am not better than you, even though some people are suffering harder and some people are suffering less than I am. Some people are going through really tough things right now and some people are not going through tough things. But people say stuff like that. We are all in this together because they want to downplay the way that you feel while propping themselves up. And it is just such a empty, selfish phrase, in my opinion. We are not in this together. We never were, and we never will be. So don't get it twisted, because some people are just living way better than you are, and some people are living worse than you are. So you need to be acknowledging that instead of just pretending like you and I are suffering exactly the same. We are not, and we never will. So I was just so tired of hearing that, because I would have nightmares constantly where I felt like the whole world was like kind of laughing at me and I'm just frozen in place and I literally can't move. And it was just terrible, which is funny because that's literally what I did when I was awake. I would just sit there all day, every day when I was making this project, and I would just do nothing. Wouldn't just leave my bed, and I just didn't want to do anything. I was just so depressed at the time, and making music was tough for me. And then, ironically enough, people would say, "Don't worry about it. We're all in this together," you know? And we're not. People were saying that to me were better off than I was, and that just really kind of got to me a lot. And I think that's where this song came from. I was just so angry at the time at people saying that kind of stuff to me. And I do mention that in the song multiple times, is that the world's a terrible place. I got the chorus idea from Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World." I just wanted to parody it and like say "What a Terrible World." So, because I mean, in that song, Louis Armstrong, it's a beautiful song. Don't get me wrong. He goes through like, oh, the world's lovely, the world's beautiful, blue skies and all that. You gotta find the peace in the world, but it's a little bit difficult to do that when war and famine and I mean, all this stuff always exists. But when war and famine exist and people are suffering constantly and we're in the middle of an economic crash and we're doing terrible and people have the audacity to come up to you and say, oh, don't worry about it, it's demoralizing for sure. And that was really a big blow to me. And that's why I find this song to be probably the angriest that I was on this entire project. I was very, very, very upset at people saying that shit to me. I think it was like the last straw for me, definitely, before I made this song.
If all else fails, then I'll live like you. All else fails, then I'll pay my dues. All else fails, then I'll live the truth. All else fails, then I'll fail like you.
I'm gonna skip this one because this one's really personal. It's about a certain person in my extended family, and you can just figure out the rest by digging for the lyrics kind of attentively. But I tried to keep it as obscure as possible. So yeah, have fun with that. So here we are. This is the big track, the big title track, Black Lotus Emporium. This song is named after the album, and the album is named after the song, so really makes sense vice versa. I wasn't looking for anything specific in this song. I just kind of wanted to do a culmination of everything the project's about that I've talked about earlier so far. But I wanted to focus maybe just a little bit more on the feelings of being all alone and that I can't be saved, which is how I was feeling at the time. I felt like there's no fixing what I was going through and that I couldn't feel any better and that nothing's going to save me, nothing's going to get better, and I'm just going to be stuck like this forever. But thankfully now I've kind of climbed out of that hole and I feel a lot better now, so it's really good. There was supposed to be some sort of a lore dump in there too, but I didn't really do too much, and then I just kind of, put all of that into the interlude.
As they're unconscious of themselves, and therefore they suddenly do terrible things without warning, either to themselves or to others. They make promises that they're never going to fulfill.
The Life and Times of Candace Newmaker is one of the more personal songs on the project. And funny enough, it was, despite being the last song, it was the first song I made on the project before I even knew that I wanted to make a project, because I was just testing the waters to see if I was capable of creating something that is actually coherent and good in my eyes, at least. This song was originally going to be on Cytopathic, but I didn't have the confidence back then, so I just ended up scrapping the whole thing, and I came back to it a year later and rewrote it after I'd done all my projects, because I felt like I could finally do it. I felt like I was ready to finally talk about what I wanted to talk about. The title of this song, and a lot of the lyrics, are direct references to the Candace Newmaker case from the year 2000. Candace Newmaker was a girl who was struggling to form an attachment with her foster parents. They signed her up for this 2-week intensive attachment therapy thing where they accidentally ended up killing her through this process called rebirthing, where you wrap a child up in a blanket to simulate as if they are being reborn from the womb, and they come out to their new foster parent and they form the attachment. A baby would form with their parent when a baby is born, typically, so it's like being reborn. And it's kind of fucked up, to be honest. It is very fucked up, because what happened was horrible, and despite all of that, I feel some sort of a connection as somebody that struggled kind of throughout my life to form attachments with people. I've kind of always just been alone a large majority of my life, and this chapter in my life now where I have a lot of people through music and things like that is just really new to me, and I'm really grateful for my family in Mercenaries and in Make Family Not Friends, because they're there for me, and I'm just really grateful for them because I am so alone, and I really struggled with that. I've really just had a hard time forming attachments with people, and I've done things like that, such as like attachment therapy and whatnot. And I see a bit of myself in a case like this, as morbid as it sounds. So I mostly just kind of talked about that the whole time. I referenced the Candace Newmaker case a lot, but I feel like I was talking more about me than I was about her. And yeah, you know, I'm a quitter. Sometimes I don't want to be reborn. Kira gave me such a great beat for this because that sample in the beginning of the guy talking about nightmares just really fit the whole project's theme. And I'm really grateful that Biv came through because he really wanted to get on a song with me. And his verse is just so passionate and beautifully written. And I really love him for that. So, I don't know. All I gotta say other than that is just life is tough. You can meet people that'll make you feel special though, no matter how you are. If you're alone, sometimes for reasons that you would rather not express over a 27-minute YouTube video about your music, but you know, sometimes it's really tough to meet people and to attach yourself to people, and it's easy to be apathetic and cold when you've kind of had a tough time. And I'm really grateful for the people in my life currently. So I just had to repeat that because, you know who you are, and you people are all special to me, and you make me feel special. So but I thought, with the ambient outro too, I thought that was just perfect closure. It's like the end of the funeral. Because in the beginning, with unpaid funeral service, it was like the beginning of the funeral. And then at the end, it's the end of the funeral. And, casket's closed. I'm in the ground. I'm dead. I'm dead, baby. I'm dead. That's it. I'm off to the Black Lotus Emporium, and I think I might just stay there forever. What's next for me is that I plan on creating more music videos for songs off the project, since I had a blast making the one for Cemetery Bliss, and I feel like it's a good way to kind of get more of those ideas and themes of the project into all of your precious little heads. I currently plan on doing music videos for Bottleneck Brainstems, Past the Four Corners of the Bedroom Ceiling, Black Lotus Emporium, and The Life and Times of Candace Newmaker. But the next video I make will probably be for Black Lotus Emporium, as we're heading out in a few weeks to a conservatory in Toronto once the weather cools down, and we're going to go film a video, and it's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to work on that, and I'm really excited to share it with you. As for music, kind of at a crossroads right now with what direction I want to go in from here, as this album was really monumental for me, and it was just really personal and kind of a big deal. So hopefully I'll figure it out soon, and I'll get all of you some new tunes to bump on your iPod Nanos, if people still use that, I think. Thank you all for watching. It was a pleasure to share the work that went behind this album and everything that was attached to it. And you know what? I'll see you all one day in the Black Lotus Emporium.